So let's go ahead and do that. So we're looking at photosynthesis. We know that's in what? Plants, and plants are what kind of troph? Autotroph. Autotrophs. Remember, auto means self, troph means food, like a trough is something that an animal eats out of. So it's a self-feeder. It makes its own food. Alright, so yesterday we watched a video about photosynthesis, and she went into the light-dependent and light-independent reactions. So the first step in photosynthesis is it absorbs light. Okay, so obviously this is a light dependent. RxN is just reaction, so that's what I've abbreviated right there. This is with pigments. And pigments absorb certain wavelengths of light. Does anyone remember what color wavelength of light chlorophyll absorbs? Red and blue. Why do you see green?
Because it reflects it.
Because it's reflecting it back. Anytime you're seeing a color, that is what's being reflected back. Okay, so if you're seeing this blue on the board, that's the color that's being reflected back at you. It's not that it's absorbing blue. Okay, so this takes place in the chloroplast. And then remember, the chloroplast has these little green looking pancake things in them called glycolloids. And those are going to help absorb the light. And so that light that it helps absorb, it's excited, okay? So it's got a lot of energy. It's going to transfer through electrons. Okay, so that's the first step. Then the second step, we're going to convert the light energy. Alright, so yesterday they talked in the video about an electron transport chain. So these excited electrons are going to travel along that electron transport chain. E negative is just electron, so I'm not going to write that word out anymore. I'll just put E negative. So electrons travel along this. And the end goal is to make ATP. We know that ATP is just adenosine triphosphate. That's just an energy molecule. And I mentioned this one the other day. NADPH. That is an electron carrier. So it helps with the energy, the carrying energy in these electrons. Okay, so this is going to provide energy. To make a carbon-based molecule. What is the carbon-based molecule that plants are trying to make?
Yeah.
Glucose. C6H12O6. Okay, so both of these are the light dependent reactions. Alright, so those have to have light. They have to be in the presence of light. Does everybody have this or not?
Yeah. Got it.
Alright, I'll just start writing up here. So I'm gonna move that. Alright, so the next one, the last step, is the light independent reaction, and is sometimes referred to as the Calvin cycle. And what this is going to do is just going to store that energy. So it's going to store the energy, and it's going to go through something called carbon fixation. So just think of it as trying to link those carbons together to get this big carbon-based molecule. Okay. Sometimes you hear it referred to as a dark reaction instead of light independent. Dark reaction is kind of an older term, but it's still out there sometimes, so you might see it. Okay, does everybody have this now? Okay, I'm going to do a really rough sketch of the Calvin cycle. So it's going to start with 3 CO2. Where does the CO2 come from?
Where does CO2 come from?
Where does the CO2 that the plants are using come from? Where does the CO2 come from? Yes.
Us, yeah.
From us. How?
We breathe it out.
Yeah, we're breathing it out. So then it's going to, at this point, become 6 3-carbon chain. What do you think it has to have to convert?
Oxygen.
Water and
What does it need to go through this reaction? What do you need to, like if you're running a reaction, what do you need to run? Energy. So what's the energy?
ATP.
Yeah, so right here is where ATP will go in, and this is just showing that if you see these diagrams, it'll just show a little like swoop in and out. It's showing that ATP was added. After ATP is used, what molecule does it go to? It loses one phosphate.
it breaks off and it creates
ADP.
ADP, yeah.
Okay, so it went from adenosine triphosphate, it lost one of the phosphates, so it went to adenosine diphosphate. And this is also where NADPH is added.
Is that DPH?
Yeah, sorry, that's bad.
I don't know.
And then that becomes NADP plus. It loses that hydrogen. Okay, so now at this point it becomes 6 3-carbon sugars. Okay, and then one of the 3 carbon sugars breaks off right there. And then it's gonna continue on with the reaction. So we're gonna add ATP again. And then when that's used up, it's ADP. And then you're gonna end up with 3. Oh, that's a bad way to write it. I'm just making the board worse and worse. So after that, you're gonna end up with 5 3-carbon compounds. That's a really, really kind of abbreviated version of but you just see that basically starting out with carbon dioxide, you're adding energy and NADPH, which is just like an energy carrier, electron carrier. It's starting to make all these sugars, it's using some, it's adding more energy, and then you get more carbon-based molecules in the end. And so what it's trying to do is basically trying to make the sugar and store it because that's the plant's energy. Okay?